is how the story goes. We find out about a treasure in the grand line, there's no doubt. The pirate whose eye is on it, he'll sing, I'll be king of the pirates, I'm gonna be king.
Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Today I bring you a video on Ailment Opportunist's terrible Driftstone H meta-analysis. So, as you know, you have the mysterious Driftstone H out there. And we also have the new skill known as Ailment Opportunist. So we're gonna see, is it bad or not? Well, you already know. I think it's terrible. It is terrible. And here's a big disclaimer. As you see here, me hopefully and praying that I get Ice Attack on my Kushala grips. Driftsmelting is extremely expensive and time-consuming. It is incredibly irresponsible as a creator or anybody to tell you that it is easy or make it look easy, because it's not. As someone with multiple full Driftsmelt builds and completed the 100 trial quests, you should never casually Driftsmelt anything unless it has solid data to back it up in the long term. If you don't, you are wasting your time. And I'm showing you right here. Look at how many insta-smelts I'm going through just so that I can get Ice Stack. I will eventually get at the end right here, but it took 8. Actually, a lot more than this to get Ice Attack right here. And why did it take so long? And actually, I don't know, I remember that one. I think it took me like 36. But the fact of the matter is, I got mad lucky because here's your mysterious Driftstone H odds analysis. Thanks to MHN.Quest, the odds of you getting any exclusive skill from any Driftstone is 3.3%. It is very, very low. So imagine going after a skill that actually doesn't work out and it actually isn't great, and you spend 3.3% of the time trying to get it, and someone that told you it actually has zero experience has no idea what the heck they're talking about. And that's the problem. Although the distance of Driftstone H is reduced to 1 kilometer away, I'm not gonna fear missing out to you. It doesn't make it any better. This really sucks. This is why it's reckless to commit to a full Driftsmelt unless there's backing that something is worth going after, because it can take hundreds of Driftstones before you get all the smelts you need. I consider myself lucky. I have multiple Driftsmelt builds and full Driftsmelt builds, and I still don't have the gold medal yet. For those of you that are watching this video and listening to my comments, that's not the case for y'all. Y'all took a lot more than I did to get what you wanted. First, we're gonna start off with Ailment Opportunist. Obviously, you already know I think it's terrible because it is. Here's the analysis. Basically, perfect dodging increases status buildup chance plus value boosted at higher levels. You have to wait for the monster to attack you, then perfect dodge, and then you're going to build up the value, and yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. And you have to invest 5 levels into this. Any levels of 5 is ridiculous to ask for, especially for a skill like this. It's terrible, and what's even worse is it's not even naturally given for armor. You have to Driftsmelt it. And the meta for status is damage. After you get your status buildup, you want to build up damage, like Burst and Valor, after you already have the supporting infliction skills like Status Sneak Attack and Chameleos Venomous. This is how it works. It's been that way for the longest time, especially since status buildup equipment skills started existing. And like I mentioned before, you have to wait for the monster attack, then perfect dodge. There's no damage increase, just a buildup, and it's too conditional and not worth. Along with that, the status you build over time gets harder. So that's how it works. Over time, as you inflict status, it gets harder. So you're perfect dodging what? 8, 9 attacks, and it's going to get harder every time for you to proc whatever status you're trying to make happen. And this brings us to Status Sneak Attack. Here's the meta-analysis. Obviously, if you are good at building builds, you know that Status Sneak Attack is really good. And it goes up by percentages until level 5 where it's guaranteed. And here's a secret. You actually don't need to be behind the monster. You can kind of be at its side, but depending on how good you are player skill-wise, and as far as positioning goes, it just really depends, along with the weapon type. And you don't have to use Status Ailment Attack increase skills if you're getting to this to level 4 or level 5. Like, you don't, for example, you don't need Status Ailment Opportunist or Poison Attack. Most of your damage is going to come from your regular attacks. You want your buildup to come from your regular attacks because guess what? To slay said monster, unless you're using Poison or Blast, most of your damage is probably going to come from your raw damage. Along with that, you want damage. You want to kill the monster as fast as possible, not sit here and build up. Especially like I mentioned before, it gets harder for you to build up every time. Because after you trigger one, they made it so where the next one gets harder to trigger, to balance it out. And here's the thing, status ailment ammo will proc at 100% as long as you land them, so you actually don't need to use a skill with bowguns. I don't know if you know that, but if you ever put status on a bowgun and fire at a monster, it's going to proc every time as long as you hit the monster. So again, don't use this with bowguns. And here I will go on to explaining status builds. There's a lot of misinformation out there by people that don't really understand optimal status builds. I keep bleeding every time, my eyes bleed every time I go on Facebook and see one of the groups and someone posts something and they're like, oh, this thing looks really good. And they don't see all the, they have no idea how it works, basically. They will overcompensate and tell you to drift smelt useless skills that aren't needed because they have no idea how it works and they haven't actually tested it themselves or haven't actually gone through high-level monsters like Silver Rathalos 10-star from the trial runs to actually tell you they have credible experience or the player resume to say they are good. That's just how it is. And it's okay if you're not good, but at least admit so and don't tell people to smelt useless stuff. Here's the thing, status sneak attack at level 4 will give you an 85% chance to proc. That's pretty high. So you could do with level 4. Or if you really want to, you could drift smelt this status sneak attack and then get to level 5. So either one works. Unless we are talking about Chameleos. So Chameleos is unique because it has status sneak attack built into its helm piece and the weapon itself. So if you're using Chameleos weapons, it's a very unique situation. With Chameleos Venomous 2 and Status Sneak Attack 3, you are at a 93% proc rate from behind. So you can only actually just use 2 pieces and then use the other 3 for something else. I still recommend to get 3 pieces and I'll explain that in a bit. But again, Chameleos is one of those unique situations. So when it comes to Elder Dragon status equipment like Chameleos Venomous, it maxes at level 3, so you can only actually max out to 3 levels, with a 66% trigger rate. But it feels like I've never missed the build-up with 3 pieces. You'll see at the near the end of this video where I'm going against Silver Rathalos, that's resisted, and I literally do not miss any of my build-ups. Like, you'll still see the symbol next to it, and I'm like, wow, this is actually insane. So yeah, this is unique. But ideally, if you're going after any of those status Elder Dragon pieces, you want at least 3 pieces. You want it maxed out, unless it's the case with Chameleos Venomous and Status Sneak Attack. After you build status, you want to stack damage skills. As you see at the bottom, I have an example for a damage build, an actually good damage build. This is even true for blast and poison builds, especially blast. Here's an example build, Valor 5 and Burst 5 for blast, before Burst 5 was actually the meta due to lack of status building skills. So we're going to dive into what status build up later on, but as you see, this is a great build. You have Valor 5 and you have Burst 5. You have maximum damage increase after you put as much blast potential as possible, which is 3 pieces. This is what it looks like and what's good, not random stuff put around there like Ailment Opportunist, etc. No. You want status and then damage. That's the meta and will be the meta for a long time unless something changes. And last but not least, we have Blast Attack. Here's the meta analysis for it. Blast Attack does not take priority over status ailment build-up skills. Example, Status Sneak Attack and Chameleos Venomous. This is because damage increasing skills, like I mentioned before, I keep on iterating this because it's so important, take priority over any status value increases. It's gonna get harder for you to proc, so even if you increase the value, you're gonna at most probably get what? I don't know, like 5 or 6 blasts off, and for poison, unless the monster's weak to it, you're probably only proc 2 or 3 times. If it's resisted, or if it's not resisted, probably 3 times at most, or if not more. And this is because this is how it works. In simple terms, build-up chance is always more important than the value. It's like critical hits. If your critical hit chance isn't high enough, it doesn't matter how much damage you stack onto it because you're not going to crit enough. That's why build-up is more important. If you can't trigger status, it doesn't matter how much you increase your value. Again, with critical hits, doesn't matter how much you increase the chance. You can't actually hit the dang thing with crit hits. It doesn't matter if your damage increase. Same thing applies when it comes to status ailments. And why Blast Attack is dead last when it comes to the order of things. And this is why Driftsmelting requires credibility. I've seen countless builds that factually don't make any sense, from content creators, from stuff on Facebook or other social media platforms. Here's the thing, unless you are spending a lot of money, Driftsmelting is not easy. You can't just go on MHN's builders slap on a bunch of Driftsmelts and be like, someone test this. Because guess what? You still have to kill the monsters to get the rewards. And if you saw the beginning of my video, that's a lot of instant smelts I used to get Ice Attack. Getting a skill you want, you have to pray you get really lucky. Some of y'all know that in my comments or my videos that y'all have spent over 1,000 Driftsmelts and y'all probably only have like 1 or 2 Driftsmelt builds. One if you're insanely unlucky, but that's the thing. AR games are hard and time consuming. Don't let people FOMO you and make sure things are good. This is years of experience being an analyst from a hardcore Pokemon Go player, pro PvP player, and the only top English creator with that much Pokemon Go experience. I've been there. I made over 100 Pokemon, built 100 Pokemon for Pokemon Go PvP. It took a whole lot of time and a whole lot of analysis. And I have, if you want me to put that resume out there, just look at my About Me. That's what I've done. It is hard. And this is why it's so important to avoid recklessly Driftsmelting anything unless someone gives you a good data and credible experience. Not trust me, bro. I hate the trust me, bro mentality. Saying build this when you don't know how it works. Clearly, it's just mind-numbing. Driftsmelting in itself is just a nice to have unless you really want it. Unless you're well like me or you're spending a lot of money, it's going to take a lot of opportunities and a whole lot of work to get this done. So you don't need to do it. Here it is, my proof. I have completed the 10-star trials with a booty Driftsmelt. This is like the only good skill on here taking out this 10-star Rathalos for the trials was Burst. I had 1 Burst skill and 4 random Driftsmelt skills. And I was using a resisted Camellia's bow because Silver Rathalos resist poison. There you go. Someone that has credibility and used a build that took out one of the best monsters in the game and it wasn't even at full power. There you go. I have the credibility. I have the data. With that being said, please do me a huge favor. Like, subscribe, and comment for YouTube algorithm. Again, don't worry about this. Don't give into the FOMO. It's a nice to have unless, again, you really want it. Good luck on your grinds. Good luck on your Driftsmelts. And I will see y'all on the next video.